Dan Carter here from Uprising, and this is Uprising TV, and I'm here with Combichrist. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good. How
So,
are you doing?
you guys are currently on tour. How's your tour been going? This is kind of the end of the road, really, and then obviously you're back home.
Yeah, we got a couple of weeks left, but yeah, we're seeing the light of the tunnel of on the path home.
Yeah.
But it's been doing really well. It's been fun. It's special set this
Yeah.
time around, and very different. It's just Elliot and me, and doing all electronica. So it's very different.
Yeah.
And than the last 10 years at least. So,
Yeah.
but it's fun. It's been fun.
I mean, look, obviously, you've got a 20-year legacy to celebrate, and obviously, being here doing the electronic set, kind of what songs can we expect to hear from you tonight? Is there any surprises for us?
No, there's no surprises. The surprises are the songs we don't play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're just playing old material, the stuff that we just kind of that I started with, and the more electronic ones over the years as well. But it's like, yeah, it's just our favorites of the electronic ones,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's the crowd favorites too, because that's the ones we're playing. So
How's kind of your tour been going thus far?
it's been really good. It's fun to see how different the audience is too. It's like really the old crowd, like the crowd
Yeah.
that was there 20 years ago. That's who's coming out now, and it's cool.
Do you ever?
And their kids, yes, yes.
I say, is it one of those things when you're in the crowd, you're like, I saw you at the first gig. Do you ever have that moment?
Well, I was like, you will have moments of like, I've seen these people before, but I have no clue where, because I can't remember anything from that time at all. It's just a blur, but you just remember somewhat faces, right? It's just, but it's not really. You don't know where from, or if you know them, or if you just saw them, or maybe you spent a week with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have no idea, but they're there, and it's cool.
I mean, obviously, you guys have got such a like a unique sound to you. I mean, proper breaking the boundaries stuff that Combichrist push out. When you go into writing and recording, do you do that on purpose and go, right, this one's going to be a heavy album, this one's going to be an electronic album, or kind of how do you write?
No, not really. Not very purposely, at least. Right now, I'm actually writing with Elliot here, and it's kind of like everything goes. It's like whatever idea you have and everything you go, because we're listening to such a vast diversity of music, everything from popular electronics to folk music to metal. Yeah, it's a lot of metal, and so it was never really a decision to be more metal or more electronic or anything. It was always just write a cool song. It was just, actually listening to people talk about writing music is really boring. So, but it's there's really no reasoning behind it. It's just like you pick up an album for whatever mood you're in that day. It's kind of like writing music too, and we just take that freedom. I think that's what's one advantage of writing for Combichrst. It was like we can really do whatever we want. Nobody knows what we're going to do next, so there's no real expectations.
Well, I suppose it's one of those things. I mean, obviously, when you're first starting out, you're kind of relying on what the label's kind of like pushing out. But now, obviously, you guys, with your sway and your legacy and that sort of thing, you can kind of now start breaching out into kind of what you want. I mean, is it kind of at that point now where you're kind of in control of your own legacy moving forward?
I don't know how to respond to it, because I feel like nobody's really in control over anything. Like it's the music always the part that leads it, and that's really how it was from the beginning on. I mean, it was never really about what I wanted from the beginning. It was just only about the music, and it's always about the art, and you just wherever that's going to take us, whatever that means.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, it comes down to more of a presentation of what it is, like that much we can control, what it looks like, but how it's received. There's no way of even guessing. You know.
No, it just kind of shapes itself, and we just follow wherever that takes us.
Obviously, we're just kicking off festival season in the UK. I mean, like, you know, Uprising's always tried to be one of the first festivals at the start. But I mean, obviously, in the States, it runs very differently. Like, obviously, because of the weather being the main thing. Obviously, what's the reaction been from the UK to Combichrst? And, you know, is it one where it's very different from the US? Obviously, it's a very different market. So, like, you know, how's the welcome always been in the UK?
Well, I mean, you mean in general, or just for now for this tour with the old school
In general,
stuff?
you know.
So in general,
What keeps you coming back to us?
I think, well, UK was always one of the first markets for us that understood what we were doing, like early on, especially when we were had a lot more like a dark techno influences and stuff like that. Because I just remember, like in late '90s, there like a lot of the goth scene, they were just kind of like, "Oh, that's not industrial or whatever. That's techno." And it was the same thing even when we released the first Combichrst album, you know, or not the first one, but let's say Everybody Hates You, which is now, you know, almost 20 years ago as well.
Yeah.
Like when it was released, everybody was like, "Oh, it's too techno." You know, it's
Yeah.
like kind of that thing. This is not synth music, yeah. And then 1 year later, it was just a new normal in the scene, and one of the first countries to really understand and get that was the UK or England and so on, because it was such a big crossover between the rave scene and the industrial scene at the time in like especially London, you know, and so being that connection that we had with that market back then, it's still important for us to this day to come back and play. The US always been good to us, very very good. In fact, so much so I moved there, you know. But it's always good to be back here too. You know that we always have that connection.
I guess it just flows over from Prodigy being from here, Orbital.
Obviously, I mean, got Gary Newman, the
Yeah,
grandfather of it.
yeah. A lot of the music that we grew up with comes from here. So obviously, making music, you'll have those influences, and it hits back to the same
Yeah.
place, right?
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Are there any like sort of bands and stuff like newer bands that you're listening to currently? Is there anything that you're like, really getting into lately, or are you still sort of like listening back to your older influence?
I think I feel like more now than ever are we listening to all the influences. There is like a little bit of a vacuum, at least in my world of music. It's still a vacuum of new interesting electronic stuff, but there is quite a few also that are coming up. Like, you know, I can't really just think of anything on the top of my head right now, but it just hasn't been that interesting.
Yeah.
It's been an overload because everybody can release music now and anyone can have a studio at home. So it's been just an overload of shit.
Yeah. If you could talk to some of those younger musicians that are coming up, what would you sort of talk? What would your best advice be to them?
Get a job, man. You know? But shit, if I started all over again, I would never have done this. But it's art is, you know, it's a weird life.
Yeah.
You know. And I don't have any business sense, so I never did this for business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But no, I mean the best advice I can give somebody who starts out is just stay original and just, you know. But it's kind of like there's nothing wrong about trying to kind of fit in a little bit in the beginning. I understand the urge to do that, and you look up to these bands, and you know but the best path to take with music is always your own, and by the time you are what your favorite band is, they have continued to something else. You will never be that, you know, and then you always be a copy of something. So like creating your own path is the most important part, and then stick to it.
Yeah.
You know, that's really it.
Yeah.
Be weird, yeah.
Obviously, sort of going through your stateside tour, halfway through your European tour with Priest. What's your plans once you finish touring? Are you guys going to have a break? Are you going to go on holiday or?
Well, at some point I have to write.
Yeah.
And we've just been so busy, and it's just it hasn't been as much writing as it used to be in between tours and stuff either. So definitely going to take some time in writing. But we got a few shows during the summer, but just one-offs,
Yeah.
festivals and stuff, and then we're going back on the road in late September and October in Europe with Megahertz from Germany. And then we're looking at Australia and a few things like that in the end of the year, and then
No holiday, no rest.
Then it's next year, right? So, but then hopefully we can get a couple of weeks breather, a couple of months breathers in the beginning of next year, and then hopefully we go back out with a new album. You know.
Do you ever write when you're on tour? Like,
Yeah, we do, but try. But it's like it's usually when you try, it's usually when you fail. So, like most of the stuff that I ever actually wrote on tour would have been random timing, like ideas I get when I sit on the airplane or wake up in the middle of the night and I have to write it down on my phone, or you hum it into the melody or something.
Same.
That is so much more valuable than any actual trying to recording time.
I write notes. I've never been able to do the humming thing and make sense of that.
Yeah.
I just write notes like, death metal, disco, dark, but with strobes, and then I look at that when I'm in my studio and I go, "What the hell was I thinking?" But usually I'll do something and something will come out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult when you're on the road.
I suppose with one of those scenes, you'd have to make yourself like a drum machine or something
Yeah.
like that in your mouth.
It-
Beatboxing.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing about ideas are there's, it's kind of like having a dream. It's so crystal clear when you wake up, in the second you wake up, and then it's just like 2 minutes later you go, what? What did that even mean? It's like I don't even know what that would sound like. It would sound like a great idea when you had the idea in the first place, and then she's like, "What was I even?" And like he said, what are these notes? You know, what does this even mean? And like you have no idea. But then again, it's like I keep going back to talk about saying art, right? Because it doesn't really come to full term until you go and record it anyway.
Yeah.
So the final things just go, it's going to be so different, you know. So, but tour is not a great time for writing, but it's a good
So much going on. I
good
suppose.
time to be influenced.
I think we're recording the shows at the minute, and I think what's going to be really interesting is listening back to what I'm doing during. So what I'm improvising a lot to the original songs now to sort of create that vibe that was from the beginning,
Yeah.
or like the playful thing, and a lot of the loops I don't remember 5 minutes after in the next song. So it's going to be really, really interesting listening back to that, and I think that we might be able to build off of those things as well, which is kind of a new.
I suppose you get to a point when you're in a band and you kind of also get inspired by yourself and kind of like your own songwriting.
Yeah, no,
and stuff
we
as well.
actually talked about it the other day, and I was like, I think like I don't really listen to specific types of music while I'm writing or before I start writing, right? Like it's just random what I listen to during the writing time, whatever. But now I'm kind of like we talked about the other day. Maybe we should go back and listen to our favorite songs and just keep listening to them for a while and make that our inspiration for an album, you know? Just go back and copy ourselves. And,
Self-referential.
but like over all times. So you will have inspirations from a song that we wrote like 20 years ago, and then one from 5 years ago maybe, and that itself would create something new, you know.
So obviously today at Uprising, what's your plans? Are you just kind of chill out? Is there any plans that you're going to go and check out?
I'm gonna check out Paradise Lost for sure. It's
Fair
gonna be
play.
really cool.
Have you ever played with Paradise Lost before? Or?
I actually played with Paris Lost 20 years ago in London.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like talk about 20-year anniversary. It's really weird. It's actually we played right before them 20 years ago as well.
Yeah.
So
I have to get you together for a little party.
so it's a little roundup.
Yeah.
I also after that show ended up at the Slimelight, and the next thing I remember, I woke up in a field in Germany somewhere. So yeah.
See how it goes tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll expect to pick you up in a field some point tomorrow then, yeah?
Apparently they rolled me through security in a wheelchair because I was passed out drunk and put me on a plane somehow. And I wandered out of the airport in Germany, and I crossed the highway and into a field and passed out there. So, and I don't remember any of it. So
By the sense of it, it's a good job that you don't remember it.
yeah. So let's see what happens tonight.
Yeah.
We got a lot to celebrate.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, guys, and best of luck for your set, and I look forward to watching you. So, thank you.
Thank you.